It's the Breakdance version 1, Alpha 2, baby. And this is JP here with Learn Breakdance for WordPress. Thank you very much for returning and sitting through another tutorial as we look at what's happening with Breakdance in this alpha state it is in. Quick word again, thank you very much for the support. Great to get the feedback. Love the community, and I really see a lot of positivity on the forum, especially after the first backlash. I think people looked at it and like going, oh, me so like it so much. In this fourth installment of this Let's Build the Alpha for version 1, I'm going to do a very simple bio. And I think just a quick little note there on what these channels usually do. These channels, the Learn channels, they are breakout channels from the Websites for Beginners channel. And that is all focused really on no-coder beginners who want to create a website. Think Daryl Wilson, think Ferdy Korpersuk, very similar. It's just a little bit more lengthy and a little bit more in-depth. This is really focused on copy, paste, do it again, practice, repeat, get it right, and help people to make their websites. Often, and I think he will not be insulted if I say this, often when I make these tutorials, I think of my father, my dad, yes. I had to teach him many years ago PowerPoint, and it was excruciating, but I learned from that what it often takes to get people to do something right. I'm talking many years ago. And I applied that when I started training clients on how to maintain their websites, and then I brought it over to this. So if you're a little bit more advanced, these videos really aren't for you, but I still appreciate the support. Thank you very much, and let's get cracking. I have this already set up, and I think let's just quickly open Sizzy so that I can just show you the responsiveness of this site. And everything is so slow after the power comes back of a very nice another session of load shedding in the Rainbow, South Africa. It's either on or it's off. Right, so we did those 3 sections, and then I have this one that I've done here. And very basic, we have an image. We haven't worked with image, and then an icon as well, just to bring in a little bit of that so we can work with some of these elements and blocks that we've not worked before, and then stacked here on the mobile device. Looking good. I refer to this as a bio section. I often recommend to smaller businesses that they really go ahead and personalize their business by adding in the owner. Most people fight against it. They really don't want it. But when we refer to social proof, there's nothing better than having a person there that is showing what they do with their business. It brings in far more credibility to your business and product than just, talking about your business and not humanizing it. Let's go back. Where am I now? I'm completely lost. I will go ahead and delete this. So we go here and delete, and then I'll add a new section. Bring in 2 columns, click and just select columns, and then choose the 2. And then I'll just go back to the section to change the background color. This goes much faster the more we do it. I'll drag it all the way down to black. And in case I'm going to use it again, I can just add it here, something with global colors that you'll definitely want to do. I usually have a black/charcoal color ready there, and then a white as well. So I've added that swatch, and now we have this background for the black. Let's bring the image in, and then we work with the image first. It's always a new experience to get used to where everything is when you work with a new builder. Choose the image here, and there is a dynamic content. And the reason I'm looking at that is because Andrew had asked me about it for the gallery. So now I'm just picking it up. I'm not so sure I'll have to go back to the gallery. Well, I'm curious. Let's click on the gallery. I don't see the dynamic content here, but I do see it on the image. Get back on track. And again, I want my workspace as I'm working to be more centered here on the horizon. And to do that, I will bring in another section below it. I think you'll understand what I'm doing, so I can just scroll it and put it a little bit more here in the middle. I'm working on a pretty big screen, so it's important that I lift it up. Otherwise, my head is almost tilted all the way down to the bottom. Let's select the image again. Let's choose the image, and I've already brought in this image. which is Michelle de Jager. And she is the owner of the spa. And then you have your normal controls. You have your thumbnail medium. I'll leave it on full. And I love it when I can see custom. I just love it. That should be in each and every one. Alt, you have caption, you have your link if you want to link it, and as well lazy load, you can activate it. And then many options here for your image width, your maximum width. Great features to have here, as well as your effects, a load of stuff, border spacing, caption, and then the light box in case you have activated it. I think the image element is pretty standard, and I often preach to keep your images as standard as possible. What I want to do before we continue with these two columns is actually constrain the canvas width. I love, again, a feature that just comes in very nicely. Because this is within the columns, I can go ahead and select the columns. You can do that by going to the structure panel here and then select columns because I'm going to work with that. And then from columns, we go to size and then the width here, I'm going to put that on 800 pixels. I really want to constrain that. Now it's 800 pixels, but it's flushed to the left, or we often refer to it as the start in Flexbox. That means I have to go to the parent container, click on the section, and then on layout, make sure you select here on center align. And now we are back in business. Below Michelle, I'll bring in this element, click on add, and it is social, there, social icons. I'm getting the sense that you will need to know your product when it comes to breakdowns extremely well. Well, for all products, you do need to know that. But the reason I say that is because with all these elements and blocks, you will need to quickly get to it, and going up and down through the list looking for it will just drive you bonkers. So the best thing is just to know what you're looking for, social, and type it there in the search box, and you get social icons as well as social share buttons. We know we want the icons. So we click it and we drop it in there. Add some space between the image. So I'll grab my margin outside and drag that in. And this is something that I really don't want to repeat a lot in these tutorials. You should know that when it comes to adding margins, same as in Oxygen, same here. You click on something, you drag at the top or you drag at the bottom to bring in the margins. Let's select our social icons and you see it works again on this similar item listing concept that we know from Elementor and other page builders as well. You do the first one and you bring in the type. You have it here, the list that you can get from, and you can also add custom ones if you need that. I think these 5 are fine and they're going to be the standards. You just have to update the links over here. Where it says add icon, it actually means add another social network. So if I go here and click on custom, then you see I have an icon background color, everything I can do with that one. And let me just delete everything that I've messed up here. So nice, it brings in those default brand colors for these guys, but I usually don't like them. For my theme, I try to keep it the same color as the theme. And we hop over to the design/styling, and you can see by default changes have been made to them. If we go to the icons, we have the icon color, and you can see it's already set to white. So I'll still again just drag to white, but as I drag around, you will see that the colors change, and I'll put it on white or select my swatch here in the bottom left-hand corner. Then the background, and here I would like a little bit of a preset. So let's jump first down here to shape. I'll put it on circle, okay, expected, square, yes, and then custom. And then with the radius of the custom, you can basically from square to circle. So these two will just give you those presets right ahead. But what I was looking for when doing this was a circle, no background with an outline, with a border. And I didn't find the border here. So this will go in as a recommendation or a feature request from me on the request board, that I really like to have a border, especially for the circles, and then no background. So again, I will go to my background and simply grab the opacity slider and get rid of that. Size 24, pretty small, but I do like it smaller, not so prominent, especially if the focus is on Michelle, like we have here. I'm going to reduce it even a little bit more. Let's take it down to 20. Then the padding. I forgot. Let's take padding out. What is padding? Okay. Taking padding out completely not a good idea. So we bring in padding 1, and that's around each of the elements. It was at 10. I'll take it down to 5. Maybe that is too narrow. The reason I say that, you always have to take into consideration how close clickable elements are on mobile devices, because Google does not like it when they are too close to each other, because that makes it very possible that you can click one of them by mistake. Google tells you, no, put them further away or make the area that you can click on bigger, something to keep in mind. That is the icon. And then layout, we have currently them here in the 3 dots, horizontal, and then traffic light if you want them as such. Pretty nice. And then you do have a gap between. So the padding, okay, going back to the icons, the padding will make sense once you have a background. Got it. Then go to layout, space between. I'll add 5 pixels. Awesome. And then effects, scale on hover. Yup, let's scale on hover. Okay, make it a little bit bigger. And then there's opacity as you scale, and this duration will determine how long the hover goes. So on milliseconds, 500 milliseconds is half a second. That should be slow. If I go for 1000, it's going to take 1 entire second. That is extremely slow. I think the default is good. Yep, don't know what the default is. Probably like 100 or 250 milliseconds. Good. That's the effect. And then we have spacing, which in Breakdance hammer, it means margin at the top and margin at the bottom. And I love it. I think that's a bang-on job. I can't complain with that. Anyone who looks at this will look at Michelle, looking at the oil on her inventory and overpricing it for the next customer. And then immediately below that, you will see the social icons. They will know. We can go and see what's going on Michelle's Instagram. Let's build out the section for her bio. So we will work with a heading for her name. And then I will work with cannot see very clear. Bring in another one. Below that, I'll bring in another heading. Then I'll bring in an icon. And then I'll bring in text. And I think in the first video, I talked about the fact that I wished that the elements drawer could remain open, because I work on wireframes and I also do a little bit of sketching before the time. So I know exactly I want to drop this, drop that, and get it done. Let's click on the first one and type in there owner and masseuse, because she owns and she does. Masseuse. And then I'm just going to go ahead and style it out typography. Let's choose and put it on white and put it to the left. Wonder why it's center aligned. Is it because I put everything in the center? Curious. Then font families, Josephine Sans. And I should really go and do the global styling so I don't have to type this every time, but let's stick to that. And I'm going to do 14 pixels, which is extremely small, too small. Let's just stick to 16. Josephine Sans doesn't work with small fonts. It's very difficult to read. And then the weight, I will put it around 600 and then go to advanced and select transform. Right, there we go. Owner and masseuse. And then let's click on the next one. This is her name, Michelle de Jager. And we will probably put that on H2. H2 is going to draw it automatically. If you go to preferences, global settings rather, and you then go typography, advanced, headings, it's getting it from here, heading 2. So the idea is you set it up here. Every time you choose H2, it will give you the default styling. Of course, you can override it over here, because not always do you want to use exactly the same styling again and again and again. I'll go and stick to doing it manually. We're also going to put it on white. And let's first change it to Josephine. And for the font size, let's go to 40, which is where we were. Shall we go bigger? Why not? Because it doesn't fit then. So I'll stick to 40. And weight, I'm also going to put it on 600. I think that is a little too thick. And we also put it to the left. I think it was to the left. And boom, that's it. Let's add space between Michelle and the icon. And then I'll also add space at the top. So I'll click here on owner and masseuse, hover outside at the top and drag it down to add this kind of space. And let's add a little bit of space between owner and Michelle de Jager. Click on the icon and click choose from your content section. And we have Font Awesome, Icon Moon Free. And I played around a little bit with bringing in my own fonts. Need to figure this one out because I'm used to when you bring in SVGs, you can still change the color. It didn't work for me, so I think something with the format I'm doing wrong. I'll try and figure that out. But I'll select all icons at the top and then type in spa. And actually, there's a number of icons that can go with spa, except this is the one we are looking for. And then we can change the color. And I will go and borrow the color from here. So let's just quickly on the background gradient, and I'll choose the lighter one, this one, select it, and then scroll down, select my icon, go to styling, icon, change the color first. And I think this time, let's paste the hex first. Let's also add it to our palette down here. And I'll call it Spa Teal. Super. And then some little bit of information about Michelle, which I'll drag from Lorem Ipsum. And here I'll take a long description. It's going to talk about her experience, how she decided to become a masseuse. Control Command V. That's again center. And then typography. We go to color. I'll put it on white, but then I'll just drag it slightly down to a gray just to apply that little bit of effect. So we know it's about Michelle, but the text is not that important. So what I've got it here on AB, AB, AB. Doesn't matter. Something just a little bit faded and matted. We align it again to the left, and then font family is Josephine Sans. And let's make sure it's on something like 16, which I believe it is. And then for the weight, I'll go to 400. Shouldn't change. It should be around 300, 400. And then for advanced line height, I'll put in 1.6 because I do know the line height at this moment isn't sufficient for a paragraph. We've really done a lot here. Let's add a little bit more text there so that we can really build out her little bit of curriculum vitae. Enter. Okay. Brilliant. And that's kind of the effect that I want, is a little bit off balance. We can bring in a little bit more spacing here at the top. That it's a little bit off balance, but you have it on the left and the right. Now, I've mentioned this a few times. It's something that you get used to the more you do this, and I'm talking about graphic design. If you look at your design and things just feel a little bit off, 9 out of 10 times it's because things are too squashed and you need to bring in more space. And I'll always recommend rather add a tad more than not. And in this case, you should identify that the reason this all feels a little bit boxed in is because we don't have enough space here in the middle. So this gutter between the two columns, for what we want to achieve here, we need a little bit more space. Now, here it comes, each builder to its own, because originally I was thinking I will add some padding here in this column or padding here. But then I remember, no, we have to talk about a gap here. What we want to achieve here, we're going to do that by selecting the columns. And actually, there is a quick way to select the columns, because if I select this one, it's going to give me the image. If I click down here, it gives me the left-hand column. To quickly select the columns on page, select the gutter. And you see if I click there on the gutter, I have gotten the columns. Then let's go to layout. No, not layout, spacing. And then we have column gap here. And I'll add something like 50. Let's see. And now I remember I added 75. It's a little bit bigger than usual, but that just makes it feel a little bit more separated. And that gives you a feeling of structure. That negative space, negative space helps to build structure. If everything is too close to each other, it's difficult for your brain to formalize and make out what you are seeing. But the moment you add this space, your brain says, that is over there and that is over there. Sounds like I just made all of that up, but no, it's actually true. Whoa, we're done. We've done a nice little bio here, and there is a lot that you can do. Now, in the previous video, I talked about animation and entrance animation. And I'm actually not a big supporter of entrance animation because of how it works on mobile devices. Then I thought, well, if entrance animation can be switched off on mobile or tablet, I would fully support it, but I see it isn't responsive at this moment. If I click this section and I go to advanced and animations and let's say entrance animation, we select slide right. I don't see anything advanced. Offset, animate only once. Oh, there it is. Disable that. Man, I shoot myself in the foot. So not on phone portrait. I think I knew this, right? Why I suddenly forgot about it. That is unfortunate because I had to deep dive and I was lazy. I probably forgot to deep dive. So I'll just put it on phone landscape. So I'm going to have the animation, but once it gets to the phone, it will stop. Taught myself again something I already knew. Life is pretty. The other thing that I did play around with just to show you, because I'm trying to figure out everything here in terms of the builder, was the dividers. So with your section selected, you can go to the first one, which is styling, all the way to the bottom and select not borders, dividers, and then add an item. You can select the shape. So let's say angle 1. You're not going to see anything because by default it comes in with black. So we'll have to change the color and we'll put it on white. And then you have the options. If you go through them, angle 2, angle 3, and of course you can go through all of them. Balance. This is good for a spa. I guess that's the idea behind balance. Now, dividers, also a point that we can talk for a very long time about. I think here in Breakdance, I see more options for dividers than I see in many other builders. I get annoyed because for me, a divider is only a divider for a few weeks and then everyone has used it and then it's nothing special. But dividers do have a function in that they can help to transition between different sections, especially if you look at this and you put a white divider in the background. Yes, that will have a nice effect here. I think the challenge I found at this moment is that the divider is not responsive. I don't see any responsiveness for the divider here. Where I have the width and the height, this position is top and this is bottom. So let's leave it at the top. And the width, interestingly, also looks like it applies height. And then let's do something for the height, 34. No idea why I typed 34. Let's do 150. Almost looks the same as width. Let's do 250. Let me just increase, or what is it? Lower the width, 100%. Not position, take the position out, nothing changes. And then the width is at 100%. Oh, width, let's take the width out, nothing changes. And then height is at 250 pixels. Interesting. All right. Now, what happens is if we go down to phone, this is the result that you're going to have. This actually doesn't look bad. Oh, but let's look at it on tablet. Okay, tablet we have to come back to. I'll talk about that now to not stack it. Yeah, so it actually looks good. I was very critical of it at the beginning, but I think I would have liked some responsive controls here in case I don't want the divider on a mobile device or I need to change the height a little bit. Another future feature request that I will add to the request board. Let's talk about this now in terms of stacking. And the stacking, what we are seeing here on tablet landscape happens because of the settings on the column. The column is being told that, hey, once you go to tablet and lower, you have to take your two columns and put them on top of each other. And that will be related to the layout. Make sure you have selected columns. So we go up to columns, then we go to layout, and then force vertical stacking. And I only want to do that when I get to a phone. Even for tablet, I want these guys next to each other. There we go. Tablet portrait. See here that white line is getting very close to my text. And then if we go to phone portrait, let's see how this looks. Yeah, I like that. What do we have here? We have this huge space that we've added. So I'll just click here on owner and masseuse and then drag that out. And you know, even the fonts, I'm not going to touch it. It all comes in very, very nicely. And let's save. Control Command S. And then I'll jump over to Sizzy. And let's reload this one that we've created with a divider. I actually took out the divider previously. Thought, yeah, it doesn't look great. But we talked about the divider, right? But for the rest, perfect. Looks really good. Let's go down. Very, very basic bio little section, but it does the job. It's nice and clean, also very minimal. And I'll go and remove that divider because it just doesn't work for me. If something looks off, just go ahead and take it out. I know it's one of the biggest challenges when we're working with, I'll just click here to take it out. When we're working with design is that we often have a concept in our mind and we spend 80% of our time. That's the 80-20 rule. We spend 80% of our time to get that concept executed. And it's often just not worth it. Owner and masseuse. So what have we got so far that we've done here? We started with a hero section. Then we had an info section. Nicely done. We had a gallery and a bio section. This is not an actual website. I'm just working on sections to test out the builder as we go along. So it's not a real website, and it's definitely not the order I would probably put this in. And we'll need to work a little bit on some styling choices, why there's a border here, make sure that the colors match, like that yellow over there. And, you know, just get things a little bit smoothened out if we were to make a full landing page for this spa. To Alpha and beyond, let's see what's next up for Breakdance. Go well and stay safe.